Hey, it's Debbie. Welcome. If you're returning, I appreciate it. And if you're a first-time viewer, welcome as well. I'm here today to talk about gadolinium-based contrast agents, gadolinium deposition disease. It's something that I was diagnosed with after 4 injections of a gadolinium-based contrast agent used in magnetic resonance imaging, and very few people get informed consent about this toxic rare earth metal that even the CDC now says is problematic. I recently lost my bridge, and so if I'm talking funny, that's probably what you're picking up on. That'll be fixed when I go back to town, but I'm in the mountains, and so we don't have a dentist here, but it's a little teeny tiny town of 200 people, full-time residents about. So anyway, let's move on. It's not about me. It's about this article and this new research that just came out of the University of New Mexico. So I'll post a link to the title and the article, the research article, and it's entitled Assessing the Morphological Changes of Residual GBCA, which is gadolinium-based contrast agents found in tissue via scanning transmission electron microscopy. And that's some really expensive and fancy tools they have there at the University of New Mexico to study this. And what the article talks about is, it talks about to date that there is a presence of residual gadolinium-rich deposits from both macrocyclic and linear found in humans and rodents in the tissue, the heart, the skin, the liver, and the olfactory bulb, which is the brain, and then the kidneys. And we know that NSF was one of the first diagnoses that people got, and they actually thought that gadolinium was only impacting those who had bad kidneys, but we know that's no longer the case. Really, kidney function doesn't have anything to do with whether or not there is fibrosis, and we are seeing a lot of patients in the group that I belong to, which is over 13,000 people. We are seeing a lot of burning, tissue issues, a lot of symptoms that we're just trying to make sense of that we didn't have before we got an MRI with a contrast agent. So didn't have anything, these new symptoms and side effects didn't have anything to do with our original ailments. So that's why this research is so important. And I just want to point it out in a short video to just let you know why it is so important, because it's helping, the science is helping then connect the dots to what patients have been saying or are saying about our symptoms. And so we really need to move to mapping personal experiences of patients to align with what science says. And I think that's what Dr. Brent Wagner and his team are so good at, is pulling out the science part of it, and then us, the patients, mapping it back to, yes, that aligns to some of the symptoms or side effects or new and worsening, unexplainable, unexpected issues, health concerns that we face following an injection, one or more injections of this toxic rare earth metal that even now the CDC says is problematic. So the article talks about a lot of things. One of the things they talked about was the gadolinium contrast agent, or the gadolinium itself, was found accompanied by several other elements, including oxygen, phosphorus, chlorine, silicon, and calcium. And it talks about how those were encapsulated in with the gadolinium. And probably that's the body's way of trying to protect itself from this toxic rare earth metal, or a foreigner, if you will, a foreigner that it doesn't know how to reconcile, it doesn't know how to recognize, it doesn't know what to do with it, right? So it would encapsulate it, would marry to another partner on the dance floor and try and encapsulate it or move it off the dance floor. And I think this research is really trying to understand the degradation of the contrast agent, or the ligand wrapped around the gadolinium, which was intended to make it safe, but now probably maybe isn't, according to the CDC and some of this newer research. So we have questions to answer, right? And I think part of this, one of the terms I had to look up after I read the article was amorphous, AMORPHOUS substance is breaking down. And that's really talking about the tissue necrosis, which is really the death of the cell of the tissue or of the cells, and then calcifications, tumors, and inflammation. So it's really looking at how does this degradation of the well-intended, wrapped in a ligand to be safe, toxic rare earth metal, what is happening in the degradation process and how is it breaking apart? What they found was that in breaking apart, that it doesn't really, it shows up in clusters that range in different shapes and sizes. And those clusters look different even on different organs that they looked at through this study. And so that was kind of interesting. And then what does that even mean? And then how does that align with patient symptoms and diagnoses that we're getting? And then it's because it breaks apart and is so tiny, the molecules are so tiny, I think, it's not easy to see without these really expensive equipment and tools. And so just because we don't see it on imaging doesn't mean it's not there. Clearly, they found it in this study. They can see it with these really expensive tools. So we know it's still in the body. We know it's still moving around. And is the degradation causing the problems? How is it the body, trying to get rid of it, trying to encapsulate it, make use of it or eliminate it or not? And then, as we talked about, the necrosis, which is the death of the cells, the calcifications, tumors, and inflammation, those are all things that the body produces when it does come across a foreigner. And we talk about it in all kinds of medicine where those things are critical to understand if we're going to get to root causes, right? So what is setting off the body? And is it this heavy metal that's causing the chaos? Because a lot of us would tell you that we have never been sicker until we were injected with this. And it didn't have anything to do with our original symptoms. So I'm excited about this research. I hope you're excited about this research. And if you've had an MRI with contrast and you have new and unexpected, unexplainable, unrelated health issues from what you were originally sought help for when you got imaging, it's a good time to question it. And it's a good time to read these research articles and just think back about your own health journey. And could this be part of the equation? I mean, that's what we're trying to figure out, because that's what'll get us some answers. And then we can get to some solutions on how to get well again, because our body's definitely not in a homeostasis state, and probably has something to do with this residual heavy metal that's being found in the body. And even the CDC says, it can, even in small amounts, may be associated with significant morbidity and mortality. And none of us want that, right? So the research is important. Please pay attention if you're a patient or if you've been injected with a gadolinium-based contrast agent. At least be curious and ask questions, because we have a lot of work to do to figure this out. Anyway, thank you so much. I just want you to know why I think the research is so important, and how you as a patient can participate in figuring out this puzzle piece and get some answers. Thanks for joining. May your journey be one of wellness always. Until next time, take care.